There are so many Skyrim mods transforming Whiterun into the bustling trading city it's meant to be, but which ones are the best? Today, I'm showcasing all prominent Whiterun mods: big overhauls, detailed interiors, sturdy fortifications, busy city limits, and the finishing touches, high-definition textures. Additionally, I will be comparing them to each other to help you build the perfect Whiterun that suits your personal needs. Hello, I'm Raina, the Bard's College graduate, and now let's waste no more time and begin. We'll begin with Whiterun Overhauls, and I think it's natural to begin the category with JK Skyrim, or JK's Whiterun more accurately. This is the most prestigious and iconically stylized series of location overhauls in the Skyrim modding scene, and for a good reason. In the gist of it, JK's Whiterun adds all kinds of new structures, flora, and a lot of clutter in the city, using only vanilla assets to keep the location looking faithful to the original. These new items are all thoughtfully placed, and all of them make sense in the context of the city. For example, this new stable or farm area behind the Bannered Mare, or the East Empire Company warehouse at the front gates, and many more immersive additions. In addition to these visual improvements, JK's Whiterun is so popular and has been out for so long that it's so easy to patch it with other mods that modify Whiterun, including most, if not all, of the upcoming mods that I'm featuring on this video. Another medium-sized Whiterun overhaul we have today that only adds new clutter is the Way of the Nords. The vision of this mod is to change the city of Whiterun to properly reflect the Nordic traditions and their way of life with this elevated atmosphere. It achieves this by adding a lot of trees and other flora inside the city gates, all kinds of fitting clutter near the houses and the marketplace, as well as beautiful statues of all sorts honoring the heroes of old and keeping the legends alive. These trees will be different depending on your tree overhaul, and if you want it to look similar to mine, use Happy Little Trees, which is the one I'm using here. The author also makes a point to say that the Way of the Nords is meant to be used with Fortified Whiterun, which I'm later showcasing in detail, but the combination looks pretty sweet, I'd say. Now, I think this overhaul is great for those who want a faithful Nordic Whiterun overhaul with a lot of detail and tons of trees, because it has both of these features conveniently packed in one mod and looks great while doing it. Now that the less intrusive Whiterun mods are out of the way, let's begin to check out those that, in addition to clutter, also feature new buildings and NPCs and even expand the city. Dawn of Skyrim adds everything but the latter, as it still stays strictly inside the vanilla city limits, but otherwise, it's a major overhaul of Whiterun and 4 other major cities of the game. Of course, we're only checking out what it does to this iconic Tamrielic city in this video. Now, I would characterize this overhaul as lively, as it's focusing on making Whiterun truly come alive in an immersive way, with a lot of fine details and new characters. In addition to these subtle new clutter items, some sparse trees, and all kinds of small structures added to Whiterun, Dawn of Skyrim excels at adding completely new buildings, interior locations, and NPCs to live in them to make the city feel even more busy and lived in. There are new market stalls and a couple of new shops, including a bakery and a magic shop, and you can also see all the everyday items the shopkeepers need to upkeep their stock. There's also an added number of animals, chickens, and even goats roaming the markets, and I must give a special mention to these 2 doggies, Maser and Secunda. I guess they belong to the companion twins. What a cute addition, and makes perfect sense to have them here. The final mod we have in this category is Capital Whiterun Expansion, a mod that expands Whiterun with new districts, with new NPCs and buildings, and adds many trees, structures, and clutter, of course, to the whole city. Right off the bat, you can see that there are some changes made to the cityscape of Whiterun, like these planks covering the streets in the Plains district, and some of the architecture has some additions on the roofs. Altogether, there are 14 new buildings filling up the grounds, and there are 3 shops, both inside the original city and in the new districts, like the bakery and the magic shop. These buildings are inhabited by 22 new NPCs with daily routines, and many of them have some repurposed dialogue, which makes them feel a bit more integrated into the game. In addition, there are also some new quests added, and even some dynamic effects on city after finishing certain quests. Now, these new districts are actually included in the same Whiterun city cell, which means that you don't have to go through any loading screens. This makes this renewed Whiterun feel truly expanded in an immersive way. The lower district behind the bannered mare has a stable, a general goods store, and some townhouses. The upper district can be entered behind the Hall of the Dead, and here you can visit the clan Steel Arm, a witcher's shop, and the Blue Sky Hall, which is actually an expensive player home. This mansion is quite simple and cozy, and serves as a great alternative to Priest's home, which is more of a humble dwelling. I want to mention how these new districts follow the established city architecture and style, like here with the water stream system, so they end up feeling incredibly natural. Now, I didn't mention it earlier, but there are some additions outside the city walls as well, like this new tavern called the Roadhouse, as well as merchants selling goods from all over Tamriel. By all metrics, I think Capital Whiterun Expansion is the most thorough Whiterun Overhaul there is currently available, and the only one, to my knowledge, that subtly adds to the architecture of the existing buildings. And I just find it remarkable how seamlessly Capital Whiterun Expansion executes this realistic vision of a huge, bustling, renowned trading city in the heart of the province. On top of this all, I didn't have any issues with performance, which is always a huge plus to any overhaul mod, especially to a one of this magnitude. We have now seen every major overhaul I'm introducing in this video, but I couldn't pass on the opportunity to also shortly feature the beautiful GG's Capital JK's Whiterun. This mod is a full combo patch for both JK's Whiterun and Capital Whiterun Expansion with some of the author's personal tweaks. It requires both of these mods, JK's Drunken Huntsman and Battered Mare, as well as Lux Orbis to work correctly, as it relies on it for the lighting setup for the city. This mod combines the best of both worlds, and as some of you may know, I'm a huge fan of JK's Overhaul mod, so it's great to see it included so beautifully in this mashup. Now, as you can see, Whiterun looks absolutely full of details of this JK's placed clutter, and you can also enjoy visiting the 2 new districts that Capital Whiterun Expansion offers. This mashup would be my favorite choice for Whiterun, but I want to warn you that it's probably the hardest to combine with other mods that touch this area, and you'll kind of have to commit on using Lux Orbis, the exterior lighting overhaul, and its many patches as well. Before we go and check out the available Whiterun Walls mods, let's take a quick recap on these 4 overhauls we just looked at. Looking them side by side here, I think it may make it easier to make the base overhaul choice to match your taste and vision in modded Skyrim. I also want to remind you to be safe and always install huge overhaul mods on a new save to avoid any weirdness or game-breaking issues that may occur if you install mid-playthrough. If you're enjoying the video, consider dropping a like or even subscribing if you want to see more. And if you're feeling even more generous, you can also check out my Patreon, links in the description. Now, Let's proceed on to the next category, which is the added fortifications of Whiterun. And don't worry, this won't take nearly as much time as the previous section. Here we have Fortified Whiterun, Whiterun has walls redone, and Roastlawyer's restored Whiterun defenses to choose from if you're in the market for a sturdy wall around this city in your game. First off, Fortified Whiterun is all about bringing realistic and logical defenses into the city, adding portcullises at each major archway and main gates, proper stone walls with towers that surround the road up to Whiterun, medieval hoardings built over the first gate, and more. The guards have proper living arrangements and something to pass their time with inside the main entrance walls, and inside the city there are 2 wooden watchtowers added, and as the cherry on top, I just love this bell. Fortified Whiterun doesn't cover every single wall, just the main gates, and adds the 2 additional watchtowers. The next wall mod we have is Whiterun has walls redone. This mod is an all-encompassing wall overhaul. As you can see here, it completely covers the city behind these sturdy walls. These canopied walls are completely walkable, so you can take a stroll on them, and they're also decorated with some fitting clutter and braziers. This mod looks quite impressive, and together with Whiterun and its exterior overhauls, the city can look very imposing indeed. And the best thing is, inside the city, you'll definitely feel much safer now with these great walls surrounding it. The final wall mod we're checking out today is Roastlawyer's restored Whiterun defenses. I think this one has a bit more classic look with the Vanilla Plus approach, as the idea here is that the decrepit ruins that used to be the walls are now properly rebuilt into maintained defensible structures. The city walls are also cleaned, they are very bare-boned, and the new interior inside the structures look very charming and have nice windows and wooden doors too. Overall, this mod is probably the most faithful to the original, but that's just my opinion on it. Time for recap. Some think that it's odd that Whiterun has such run-down, poor walls in the vanilla game, but I think it just reflects all of Skyrim. Kind of everything in the province is decrepit, from the forts to the roads. But with one of these mods, the walls of this trade city have been properly repaired to shield the citizens from dragons and civil war alike. Whiterun has some of the most iconic and cozy interiors, from the bannered Mare Inn to the gorgeous Dragonsreach Hall. Next, we're taking a look at various interior overhauls, again in the quest of finding the best one to each of our modded Skyrim setups. First, we're taking a look at selected shops and begin with EEKs Whiterun interiors. This mod overhauls the 4 interior locations in the city that are under our current microscope. War Maidens, the smithy and weapons store manned by Ulfberth and Adrienne, Arcadia's Cauldron, the alchemy shop run by the Imperial Alchemist Arcadia, the famous Belethor's General Goods that really doesn't need an introduction, and the Bannered Mare, the coziest stop along the way on your Dragonborn journey. These renewed interiors feature a ton of clutter from various resource packs and other assets that bring these locations to life with details you could look at for hours. Well, maybe not that long, but I think they look absolutely charming, and it's a true joy to enter one of these EEKs Whiterun interiors and explore every nook and cranny under the watchful eye of the shopkeeper. And not only is there new clutter all over the place, you can see that the shop's layouts are completely reimagined, which makes them much more exciting to enter after years of being so used to the original floor plans. For example, Arcadia's Cauldron, which is now 3 floors high and has a proper basement to brew and display her healing concoctions in, or War Maidens, where the couple has complete workshop and living quarters in the bottom floor of the building. This mod comes with all of these 4 locations, as opposed to the next mods I'm featuring that only can be downloaded one by one. Now let's check out the same locations but with HS Whiterun Interior Locations mod series. First off, let's check out what War Maidens looks like with this mod. The shop is heavily guarded with bars keeping the stock safe from robbers, and there are some pieces and archery supplies on display. Belethor's shop looks very similar to the original, but the items have been put on a neat presentation so you can browse around freely. The same goes for Arcadia's Cauldron, where she has propped up all these alchemy ingredients and elixirs, and there are also some greenery growing around, and she has a bath upstairs. The Bannered Mare Inn looks quite faithful to the original, if not roomier, and I really love these round stairs that take you to the bedrooms upstairs or the new bathhouse downstairs. HS Whiterun Interior series also have some small changes on the exterior of these buildings. Mostly they just add tons of ivy and some decorations on the front, but also new structures such as balconies to overhaul the building as a whole. And none of these added items are static decorations, so you can steal anything you want. For HS mod series, you also need to download HS resources to have the mods work correctly. Finally, let's check out what JK has cooked for these particular locations in Skyrim. First off, we're back at War Maidens, which has retained the basic idea and layout of the location, but enhanced it completely. The decorations have been changed into shields, which fits perfectly, and various equipment can be observed around the shop, even upstairs, where presumably more valuable items are stored away. Here in Belethor's General Goods, I really love the creativity put into this interior. Just look at the way these items are propped up on this display and these shirts hanging from the wall beam. With JKs, I always notice how the basic building blocks are used to build upon to make these locations more lively and immersive. Now, Arcadia's Cauldron has the famous cauldron hanging from the ceiling, and of course, a lot of herbs, potions, and ingredients on display. Finally, we're at the Bannered Mare, which looks, again, very similar to the original, but just decorated, cozy, and elevated. There's also a new bathhouse added to the basement floor, which I'm absolutely in favor of. Now, as we're comparing these interiors, we can clearly see that EEKs Whiterun Interiors makes the biggest visual difference. But if you're more into the original vanilla look, maybe the HS Interior series could be more of your alley. And then we have the JK's interiors that may be placed somewhere in the middle of vanilla friendly and mega modded, as this mod series is completely void of custom assets that may look a bit out of place at times, but still does a big difference to the visuals. Before proceeding to the next category, let's compare JK's Dragonsreach and HS Whiterun Dragonsreach. We can't do every location in the city, but this one we can't skip, as it's the most important and historical building in Whiterun. With JK's Dragonsreach, an enhanced palace overhaul, the main entrance has been decorated with suits of armors and several weapon plaques, and there are red drapes and other fabric propped up on the walls to bring some color to the place. The fireplace in the center is much larger, a dragon skeleton is hanging from the ceiling, and the rooms aside from the main hall have also been overhauled with a lot of fitting clutter added into them. The second choice for the Dragonsreach overhaul would be HS Whiterun Dragonsreach. This is a bit more moderate option to have the location overhauled, as it adds many items into it, but in a way that makes you question whether it was vanilla all along. Even though it's very vanilla adjacent, it still explores some creative and interesting ideas around Dragonsreach, which is really cool to see. Even more than the main hall, I really do like the Jarl's quarters, where the rooms look much better with the new additions and clutter that still feel and look immersive while being very performance friendly. Now the next thing we want to do is to properly expand Whiterun to have the city spread even further than its walls to demonstrate its power in the region. We do have a couple of mods to choose from, but let's start with Warbird's Whiterun Metropolis. This is a city expansion that adds 3 new districts to Whiterun plus a village, adding about 70 new buildings to the hold. The goal and scope of this overhaul is to transform Whiterun into the major trading hub of the province that it should be, and that's exactly what it excels at. These new districts are linked to vanilla Whiterun with gates and tunnels, and dozens of new NPCs inhabited these buildings and live their daily life and routines with full AI packages. Obviously, there are many new shops, but in addition, there are also taverns to spend some free time in, parks to relax and take in the bustling townscape, as well as a mine and a player home. In addition, this mod also features quests, some new spells and powers, unique enchanted weapons, and some armor and jewelry. Now let's briefly check out all the districts of Warbird's Whiterun Metropolis before continuing on. First off, we have Riverside, which is a town along the White River, right outside the city walls. This is a less wealthy area of the city, where laborers, fishers, hunters, and farmers live and work in, and here you can use their services and even purchase a room of your own from the Hunter's Peak Tavern. Then we have the Mason District inside Whiterun City Gates, which is named after the Mason Guild that is located here, who are responsible for maintaining the walls and roads of the city. This is a wealthier district, and here you can investigate the rumors of an underground cave system and homeless people who have gone missing recently. There's also the Cliffside District that is split into 2 areas, Upper and Lower. Lower Cliffside is a poorer area, whereas Upper Cliffside is wealthier, and here you can visit the cafe, bathhouse, and some market stalls. There's also the beautiful Amber Park in the north side of the city below Dragonsreach, which is a gorgeous spot to enjoy the landscape of the barren hold, and Widow's Way, another park that feels more quiet and solemn with the graveyard. Now, this Whiterun Metropolis is bursting with locations, but many of them are still work in progress, but it has been updated recently, so I have faith that it's getting fully finished someday. I also found some areas somewhat taxing on my frame rate, but it might be attributed to my existing mods as well, and I'd love to hear some dialogue from the new NPCs. Either way, it's an ambitious project, looks incredible, and makes Whiterun the huge trading city it's supposed to be. Next, we're taking a look at a mod that I have been wanting to try for ages. This is Whiterun Valley Hold Expansion, a true behemoth of a mod that adds more than 90 new buildings and 250 new NPCs of all kinds, from followers to farmers and even different animals. The goal of this mod is to turn Whiterun into a vibrant economic hub with new districts, towns, and camps, all located right within the outskirts of the city. The Marsh District is a community of artisans and craftsmen where you can visit candle makers, locksmiths, and bootmakers, among others, and trade and converse with them. There are market squares and streets, a thieves' guild bar, and you can also visit the shady sewers that take you to different parts of Whiterun. There is also a shabby bunkhouse and even shabbier parlor, but something I really like here is the cozy bookstore that has every dusty tome you might ever want to read. Then we have the Greenfields District, which has virtually expanded the Whiterun stables, and it is more of an agricultural community with a windmill, a butcher, farmsteads, a bakery, and something spooky too. Maidenloom Manor has also been restored to the game, now located here in Greenfields. It's a simple way of life here, but if you'd want some more hustle and bustle in your daily life, maybe Vidal Town could be more of your style. This town is located at the Whiterun and Riverwood crossroad at the White River and the Meaderies. This is a rich market town where gold flows in like the fish swim in their nets as they produce the desired honey and mead. The town looks absolutely gorgeous nestled beneath Whiterun and the waterways and the mountains, and it's a great pleasure to explore what it has to offer. Now, this mod also includes more content in the vast hold of Whiterun, but as we're only focusing on the city, I leave the rest for you to find if you decide on downloading Whiterun Valley. Overall, this mod is an absolute joy to explore, as there is so much to see now right outside the city, and it really just establishes the level of trade in the Whiterun hold and simply has an insane amount of new locations. The downside is that it's somewhat bloated, and the author makes a point to say that if you do want to use it, don't mix it with any other Whiterun mods just to be safe. The next Whiterun Outskirts mod we have on the list is JK's Whiterun Outskirts, that continues the series of this mod author, enhancing vanilla locations in a lore-friendly manner. First off, it adds an imposing layer of fortification around the city by adding sturdy walls on the outer edge of the tundra, so the guards have an easier time keeping an eye out on any possible threats to Whiterun. In the pasture, cows and other farmstead animals can freely graze the grass, and there are new NPCs working and living on these new facilities. They include shops such as Augustus' Workshop, which is a carpenter's home and workplace, as well as the Dancing Horse Inn, which shelters you in need when traveling through Whiterun. Furthermore, the northeastern farms, Battleborn and Chilborough, have been expanded, and now they also produce apples, jaspe grapes, and tomatoes. On this side, there are also some watchtowers too, to ensure the security of the supply. The decoration is done with incredible eye to detail and used many static items to bring these locations properly to life, and I think it leaves Whiterun feeling bright and prosperous. We're still not quite in the clear, as the next mod we're taking a look at is Rin's Whiterun City Limits. This one also fortifies the outskirts with robust stone walls that surely marks the location of one of importance, and there are also new buildings that you can visit or sneak into when no one's watching. The focus here has been mostly on the farmland. Pelagia Farm has been greatly expanded, and outside the walls there are two completely new small farms. On the other side of the city, Battleborn and Chilborough farms have also gotten more security, as well as expanded with more land and increased details in clutter. Finally, the White Watchtower has gotten a facelift in the same style, adding to that visual cohesiveness that is always much appreciated with big overhauls. I think this style of the overhaul really fits the original look of Whiterun, with these walls that look so similar to the rundown fortifications, so it's a great choice for a Vanilla Plus mod list, in my opinion. By the way, this mod can be easily patched with JK's Whiterun Outskirts, and together these two mods make Whiterun outside the gates look pretty dang good, especially if you don't use any additional wall mods to maintain the cohesiveness, and it's also useful gameplay-wise with all the new services they provide. Finally, we have the last mod in this category that changes the immediate outskirts of Whiterun. This is Dark's Whiterun Market. This is the most minimalistic and vanilla-friendly outskirts overhaul on the list, as it adds a reasonable amount of new NPC farmers, buildings, and clutter, but doesn't go inventing new things or going otherwise overboard. There are some new defensive structures and 17 new farmhouses placed along the roads to Whiterun, which are the homes and storages of these new farmers and merchants that sell their wares and goods to those who travel to or from the city. Also, the farms are naturally expanded to accommodate the needs of those hungry nobles up in the Cloud District. In addition to these features, Dark's Whiterun Market also adds an inn, the Whiterun Market Inn, where you can warm up before your next adventure. I think this one is great for those who seek performance and balance for their modded Whiterun. To sum this section up, there are many mods to choose from to overhaul the outskirts of Whiterun, from absolute chaos of districts, features, and additional NPCs, to more moderate style. And as always, it's up to each of our personal tastes and PC performances on what we're choosing to add to the mod list. Now, I'm personally partial to JK's Outskirts, but I think I'll continue on with Rin's Overhaul added up to the mix. It's time for our last category of the video, that is Whiterun Texture Overhauls. I think choosing the right texture pack is like the finishing touch to the city. First off, let's take a look at Skyking Whiterun, which is a new texture pack that completely overhauls the city with 1K, 2K or 4K, complex parallax support, bug-fixed meshes, and the choice between green and yellow tundra grass. I'd say that this texture overhaul is mostly faithful to the original style, but modernized, fantasy-like, and clean. It also adds these beautiful 3D trellis meshes that are a feast to the eye, but the biggest difference is that the roofs are now less saturated, as they're now more white than yellow as it was in the original style. The next Whiterun texture pack is Riton Whiterun, which is also available in 1K, 2K or 4K size, and that sweet 3D-like parallax support is included as well. This mod makes Whiterun feel more fantastical and wild, as moss grows between the road stones and the additional city trees fit wonderfully together with it. Here I'm using Blabos Whiterun, which is my choice for city trees, and I really recommend it if you're a Whiterun 3 heathen like myself. With Riton, the buildings are especially more colorful and deeply saturated, and there are some small decorative details to find. I especially love the tile detailing in the Temple of Kinnereth. Next, let's check out the handmade and comprehensive Boreal Whiterun. This is another parallax-enabled Whiterun texture pack, and it focuses on being lore-friendly and making the city feel modern and civilized. As opposed to Riton, the previous texture pack, I feel like this one really enhances the cold, barren tundra feeling. The architecture is noticeably darker in color, and surfaces, both interiors and exteriors, look gritty and rustic, old and worn through the times. This gives Whiterun a unique atmosphere that could easily fit into a Skyrim that has been modded into the dark fantasy aesthetic, and there are some incredibly beautiful detailed elements thrown into the mix. Now let's see how Illustrious Whiterun fares against the rest of them. This is the author's vision on how the city should look like, and you can download it in its parallaxed glory in 2K, 4K or even 8K if you have a monstrous high-resolution monitor and a rig to go with it. The biggest difference to the other textures is this cobblestone road, which gives a really nice, unique touch to the city. With this mod, the textures have more contrast, clarity and saturation, and together they make a really clean and stylish looking Whiterun. The color palette is quite different to the original, but to balance it out, I have fallen completely in love with these detailed dragon ornaments on the roofs. There are also many optional alternative textures in the optional files section of the mod if you want to try them out for a change. Overall, this one looks really impressive. Finally, we have the last texture mod of this video, which is Tomatoes Whiterun. This is yet another parallax-enabled texture pack that covers all of the buildings and surfaces you can find in the city. With this mod, Whiterun feels elevated, natural and muted in color, but otherwise quite faithful to the original. The previous texture mods all had some beautiful detailing, but Tomatoes version knocks them out of the park with all of these gorgeous designs around the city, and I want to especially shout out these stained glass windows that give Whiterun unique flair, well, as if it didn't already have it. This feature can be disabled from the optional files though if you're not a fan of it. In any case, Tomatoes Whiterun is a great choice, and it's available in 2K and 4K texture sizes to choose from. Now let's compare these texture mods against each other. It might not seem that way judging on my own mod list, but I will forever love the original textures as they are the soul of Skyrim's art style. That being said, in the current year, it's admittedly just so much fun to play with different texture made by the community and have some of that gorgeous parallax surfaces to look at. I think all of these look incredibly high quality, but they all serve a different purpose in defining the feeling of your personal modded Whiterun. We have now checked out all the different Whiterun mods I picked, and I sincerely hope you got some help choosing the ones that best fit your personal Skyrim mod list. If you think I succeeded, drop a like or maybe even subscribe to the channel to help me out creating more Skyrim mod videos. A big shout out to my supporters over at Patreon: Ryan Ulrich, Frank Brackett, The Panicked Monk, Billy Duncan, Onshore Flyer, Eric's Lagenwhite, Angriest Windstorm, Tunki, Amenity, Don Wright, Krakenhelm, Simon Wakes, J. Michael, Hitpoint, and Nocturnal Emissary. Thank you so much for watching the video. See ya!